been solid. One thing I would say about this group in general, maybe it has something to do with the experience and maturity of the group, but they show up in a very similar way almost every day. Very business-like approach to getting their work done.
When you look back at Kansas State, just what stood out to you from reviewing that film?
Ooh, that was a long time ago. As has been the case a number of times this year, a lot of really good things, and then not quite enough in the end. I thought for the most part, we played hard, played physical, missed a couple of opportunities that could have made the difference, and then just didn't quite get it done in the fourth quarter.
We talked a lot about Trevor Wilson on Monday. What has his season been like from your perspective?
It's been a challenge for Trevor, and I think it always is for a guy who may not be the main guy who's getting all the reps. But I appreciate the fact that he's really had a great attitude. He always wants to be in there, and he's shown here of late, especially the last few games, that he's a guy that can make a play when he's in position to. And so it just gives us more confidence as coaches that we can play multiple guys.
And what does that progression look like just throughout the course of the season there? And did you feel like maybe a game like the K-State one was coming for him to make a bigger impact?
Yeah, I would say the last couple of games he's shown the biggest improvement in his game is the ability to make contested catches, really tight window catches, some of the smaller things like a ball that's right here and he's not that far from the quarterback and somebody's draped all over him and he can still come up with the catch. He was a guy, I would say last spring and even to some extent still in fall camp, that could make a big play down the field when he could get wide open with his feet. But has struggled at times making that contested catch, and he has certainly shown here recently that he can do that, and that's a tribute to him and how hard he's worked.
Jeff, what do you see from Iowa State's version of their 3-3-5?
I got a lot of respect for this team, a lot of respect for John Haycock, and I've played against him 3 times now, and similar team, very similar approach to how they're going to play. Physical, very, very physical up front, and they're going to make you earn it. They're a defense that's going to try to play on top of things and do everything they can to prevent explosive plays, and see if you can move the ball down the field in a 12, 15, 18 play drive and score. Very patient, and then he picks and chooses his moments to pressure and play man, and when they do a good job of it. They've got some challenging blitz patterns, and the variety in coverage and their ability to disguise that coverage is something that has always been a strength of theirs. But a lot of respect for how hard they play, how physical they are, and how they're always in position. They understand their defense and they play it better than anybody does.
What makes it so tough to run on Iowa State?
Well, I think number one, it starts with, everybody talks about the scheme, and the scheme is certainly a big part of it, but I feel like even more than that, first is their mindset. Their approach up front is that they're going to defeat one-on-one blocks, and they often do, whether it's a guard on a linebacker or a center on a nose guard or a tight end on an outside linebacker or a receiver on a safety. They play really physical and they get off of blocks. And so I think the first part is their mindset and their pride in stopping the run. And then schematically, it can be a real challenge to try to get the hat on the guy who is the support player. In a 3 safety defense, the support can come from the middle safety. It could come from either or both of the outside safeties, or it could come from the corners when they play cover 2 and they trap the coverage, and those guys become support. And so, like I said, they do a great job of disguising it, and you have to really have a scheme that allows for you to hopefully get to the right people, and you're counting on your players to see who that guy is once the ball is snapped, because pre-snap you typically don't know.
What did you think of Savion taking one of his carries for a touchdown against K-State?
Yeah, I was so excited for him, in a similar fashion to what I was saying about Trevor, maybe even more so because he hasn't played much, but this guy shows up with a big smile and a great attitude every single day. And because of that, he was ready for his moment when it showed up.
Speaking of that, how's Highshaw?
That'd be a good question for the head coach.
Looking at Devin, he's close to breaking the all-time rushing record here. What has stood out to you most during your first and I guess only season working with him?
I think just how much it means to him, him making the decision to come here as a local kid, choosing to stay here when he could have turned pro. I feel how much this means to him. I feel how much Kansas football means to him and this team means to him, and his passion and desire on a daily basis shows up, and he's been able to withstand some frustration and some struggles, challenges with our team this year, and still show up with a great attitude every day.
We talked to Lance a little bit about the bye week on Monday. Just for you guys as an offense, were there some certain things you were trying to work on during your two main practices in the middle of the week?
Yeah, typically you take a bye week and you try to reevaluate where you are and maybe retool some things, move into doing a little bit more of this and a little bit less of that to play to the strengths of that individual team. But with this bye week coming so quickly after the other, and us being further along in the season and having a number of guys that were banged up, and facing a challenging defense like Iowa State, all those things led to less of that, a little bit more trying to get a lot of our older, more experienced players healthy, and at the same time working towards this game plan and really trying to get a jump on winning this game as opposed to what you do some other times when it's earlier in the season maybe.
Coach, you had a couple chances late to ice the game on offense against Kansas State and definitely carried the ball a couple times. Is that something to do with his shoulder that he hurt in the first quarter? Or is that the defensive looks that K-State was giving at the time?
Well, I think every play call has a number of factors that go into it, and there are times when certainly you can make a case for running it more often, and maybe some cases for throwing it more often in some other situations. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the play call is. If you don't have success, then it's on me for not getting it right, and so I'll try to do better.
Any last quick grabs? All right. Thanks,
All right.
everyone.